RainFAUX, Why Would You Ask That is a podcast that answers some of the weirdest questions. A lot of those are inappropriate for some listeners. If you're squeamish, easily disturbed, or just having a bad day, this may not be for you. But if you've got to know the answers like we do, stay tuned.
Why would you ask that? My name is M, they, them.
I'm Karen, she, her.
And I'm Remy, he, him. And we're picking up from last time's question, which was, what was the earliest internet trend? We already talked about the saltine cracker challenge and the cinnamon challenge being the earliest internet trends that people really know about as they started off the internet and then transitioned onto the internet. But now we're going to talk about trends in history, things that really started like before the internet was ever even really conceived.
Oh my god. Tell us how these bitches used to get down.
What were they doing? Like, the plague challenge?
Plague challenge!
This is the wrong century, but I do have something that's very close.
Whatever, the plague always exists.
I know that the listeners don't know, but I study 19th century literature and culture, so 18th century is very close. In the song Yankee Doodle Dandy, when there's the part about macaroni.
Uh-huh.
Do you know him?
But isn't macaroni just like a way of calling somebody like, what's the word for it? Like a dandy? Or am I like completely off?
Yeah, because the line goes, he stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not about noodles, obviously. So it's a reference to a like dumb but awesome trend among men of the time who, like, yes, you might describe as a dandy. In like the early 2000s, people might have called them a metrosexual, which is not a term anybody uses anymore. Because I would just call them nowadays someone who's like really comfortable expressing themselves inside of their masculinity.
The metrosexual is so like, it's concise.
Metrosexual was just a word for men who like dressed nicely and were hygienic.
And they smelled nice.
Yeah.
And they smelled nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember the first time I heard metrosexual. It was describing a guy that I was in a show with. And I was like, what? What does that mean? What do you mean metro? Like he's urban? Like he's from a metropolis? Like Superman? What's happening? I did not understand. I was very young and naive. I'm still young and naive.
I remember first hearing about it on South Park.
I don't remember where I heard the term. Some cartoon. Yeah. Not South Park, because I never watched that. It just meant a guy who dressed really nice and took really good care of himself and his hygiene and his body and smelled really nice. And maybe he wore makeup. And nowadays, it's just...
A macaroni?
Nowadays, it's just like, yeah, he just looks nice. A macaroni... At the time, macaroni was an exotic dish in England, and eating it was seen as the mark of a well-traveled person. So London hipsters started describing everything cool and exotic as very macaroni.
This tea is delightful. Some might even say macaroni.
I'm stuck on it being an exotic dish because, like, that shit just craft dinner. You get that shit for like $6 for like a 10-pack. Like,
we take a box of Kraft mac and cheese back in time. Ooh, macaroni.
Yeah. One day they'll build time machines. I'm going to go back to England, and in one hand I will carry some macaroni, and in the other hand I'll bring a pineapple.
Oh my god, you are going to rule the school!
I'll be the fanciest person.
Oh man. Bring back chili peppers and they'll be like, oh!
Yeah, before long, they started using macaroni as like a slur against these men. So macaronis they would call them, yes. They might rock like a big wig with like ringlets tied up in ribbons, with like a tiny little hat with like roses on it. They would put like diamond buckles on their shoes and like wear little rings and stuff like that. Yes, they were like very fancy dandies, yes. Those sorts of guys. They wear perfume, which was just not a thing that men did at that particular time. So, very fancy.
Ironically, I think they're the opposite of a dandy. Like, they're not polar opposites, but the dandy isn't the whole thing about dandies is that they're like aesthetically minimalistic.
The dandy is a dandy is also a fancy person. And dandy is a man who's like stylish and neat and fashionable.
Yeah, but like, weren't they kind of like later? Like, I think of the like famous dandies are like Lord Byron.
Oh yeah, they are later. They're from the next century, and they are not that fancy. So like Oscar Wilde was a dandy, and he certainly didn't look like that.
Yes.
Oscar Wilde was devoted to aestheticism, but he was like fur and perfume and stuff, but he's not going to be wearing like diamonds and flowers and roses and whatever, diamond buckles on his shoes. Yeah, they're not that fancy.
Okay. So they're like
they're Victorian times fancy, the dandies.
They're Victorian dance. Yeah, they're Victorian fancy. Yeah. Okay.
1700s men still had like the wigs and the jewelry and the high heels and the hoses and things like that. And by the Victorian times, men didn't dress like that anymore. So for a Victorian man to be fancy, he was not ever going to look anywhere close to what a man who would be called a macaroni would be looking like.
Yeah, because I think it was right around like probably a little after the turn of the century, like to 1800. But there was one specific man that all of dandy fashion has been attributed to, as far as like the black coat, and it's like very tight, and like the slim trousers and the knee-high boots and the top hats. Those are all attributed basically to one guy.
Yeah, the Victorian male form of dress all came down to like one trendsetter, and then it's just never changed until recently.
Yeah.
So men have like the sort of drab way that men have like been dressing since the 50s essentially. Male clothing has just been devolving away from like the nice way that was like the cool way it used to be back in the 1700s.
Oh yeah.
It's just been sort of devolving from there. And now men get to be expressive again.
Yes, Harry Styles, Lil Nas, everybody, go for it. Live your dreams. Be yourself, and
you be a macaroni.
Don't just wear a black. Don't just wear a black suit to the Met Gala. Step up, y'all.
You be a Billy Porter. Wear that dress.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so being a macaroni before it became a slur, doing stuff like that, like wearing like the wigs and like jewels and stuff, dressing that way was considered a trend of the time for men, even though wigs and things were popular. Being that outlandish was considered a trend for that time period. But that's not like the kinds of trend like these internet trends. If you want to find stuff like that, I'm going to bring you up to the 19th century, which is my particular area of all of my knowledge, mostly. If we go up to the 19th century, you will get a trend where people started taking headless photos.
Huh? Oh, wait, not really headless.
Care to be like, these people are chopping off their fucking heads for the meme.
Well, I thought it was kind of like how they did the corpse photos, you know?
Do it for the fun.
Now, corpse photos, not a trend.
Stanley, cut your fucking head off.
Oh, Bridget would love this.
Corpse photos.
Hysterical.
Those are not a trend. Those were just because photographs took so long that some people only took pictures when they died. But headless photos Those were a trend. I have pictures. Here's a picture right here.
Pictures!
So to describe for listeners what you two are looking at, this image is of a man sitting, like he's posed for a traditional portrait, except that he's holding his own head on a stick off to the side, and this picture is circa 1875.
I am a fan of this.
This is hilarious.
Here is another picture. This picture is a dinner scene with two men sitting at the table, and then another man is serving them the head of another person, and it's circa 1900.
Bro, I thought that was his own face on the thing, and I thought that was why he was so surprised. One guy's like expecting this, waiter is used to this, but one bro's like, oh dear, Stanley!
And then here is this other picture, this last one. And this one...
Now this one is impressive.
This is a woman, and she's holding her own head in her hands down in front of her stomach. And it's also circa 1900.
Wow.
I would like your theories.
I love her hair. Her hair is amazing.
And Em, you're correct. In this picture that's the dinner scene, this man with the impressive mustache, that is his head that's on the table.
Score! I did it! I recognize the face!
So this man's head is in the picture twice, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so they must do some kind of photo manipulation in that they set the scene, and then like they set one scene where their head is, and then they move, I guess depending, they just move, but they do it really quickly.
Now, we know that the photography during this time period, it could take like a really long time to get these pictures because of the exposure time on these cameras. So it's going to take like 5 minutes to take a single picture.
Wow.
Really fast.
I love that.
So
I love it. This is amazing.
And there's no Photoshop.
The artistry.
There's no Photoshop. So I will tell you how they did it. The way that they did these headless pictures, which did become a huge trend during like the later portion of the Victorian era. So they started in like the mid portion of the 19th century, and then became like really popular at the end of the 19th century. And they would do them by taking two pictures. They would sit twice, take two photographs, and then the photographer would take two different negatives and splice them together into one singular picture.
Okay, got it. I was wondering if they had, if they were doing splicing yet, but that makes sense.
I'll show you a picture that's a little boy holding his own head in his hands, and you can tell a little bit better that that's what's going on, because it's a little bit less impressive of a job.
Because he's a kid. Aww. They tried.
Yeah.
Stop moving.
Yeah, he just wouldn't hold his hands up.
This picture's from 1890.
1890. Aw.
This one's real cute, and it's just like his fingers are fusing with his head, and maybe that does inspire a little bit of fear in me. Maybe like his ghostly hands sinking into his cheek and becoming one with his detached head is a little more frightening than it should be. You don't know.
New D&D monster just dropped.
Child fusing with his own head. That kid...
The headless
child. I don't think this is a monster so much as it's just like a horrifying ghost to stand at the foot of my bed tonight.
So the demand for these photographs was so high that Victorian photographers started openly advertising that they had this particular type of skill and would do these photographs.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
We can Photoshop for you.
Also in the 1800s and the 1860s, there was a trend among women to intentionally limp when they were walking. They called it the Alexandra limp, after Alexandra of Denmark, the bride of the Prince of Wales, who you could call like an influencer of the time. She got really sick, and they still thought she was really fashionable, and so she would still show up to parties with her walking sticks, and so people were like, I like her still, and so they started copying her. Which is terrible. Right down to the way she limped.
Yeah, that's a little bit distasteful.
Distasteful, yes. So the young and rich people would buy shoes with 2 different sized heels to make it easier to walk with a limp, and after a few years that trend died down.
Because then you just get exhausting.
Was this like a English specific?
Yeah, I think that one's specifically in England.
White people. Sorry.
Wreck yourself.
Listen, I'm fully prepared to wreck myself.
Been wrecked.
Okay, and then the last one from the 19th century, which would have been popular both here in the US and over there. And this one, it's not, plague trend, but there was a trend of poison eye drops.
Mm-mm.
And?
Not with the eyes.
Can I read it, Karen? Is it okay?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm just like, why? Why would anyone do that?
So it was a trend to use eye drops made from an extract of belladonna.
Mm-mm.
I definitely have heard of this before.
Yeah, belladonna is part of the deadly nightshade family. It causes the pupils to dilate and the eyes to water, which gives you a smoldering, dark-eyed, doe-like look. So if you're going for like a pale tuberculosis chic, that's the kind of look it gives you. And that was popular during the time, so I guess you're getting what you want.
Oh my god. What the fuck?
This reminds me of a story that I read once. I don't really remember what it was. A manga. There was this thing where people would be taking this tonic to become beautiful, but then they would slowly become pale, their hair started falling out, and you're just like, oh yeah, you're just gonna die.
You're just gonna die.
You're just gonna fucking die. But for the moment, they were super pretty because it's that tuberculosis chic.
Yeah.
This is like the worst version of pinching your cheeks.
Yeah, for Victorian women, the worst version of pinching your cheeks, belladonna eye drops and tapeworm pills.
Delicious.
Those were the trends of the time. So yeah, prolonged usage of belladonna eye drops can lead to blindness, as nightshade is extremely poisonous. And if you want to know what it would feel like to put belladonna in your eyes, I bet you already know what it feels like, because your optometrist has already used eye drops that contain a synthetic version of atropine, which is the eye-opening ingredient in belladonna.
Oh, when you get your eyes dilated.
So just picture walking around all day, every day with the just left the eye doctor dilated pupils feeling.
Oh, God.
You know, this shit, it makes me laugh because people are like, oh, why are these ladies having fainting spells? I don't know why I said it like that. But because they did this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, please stop.
Yeah, it's all the...
Be good to yourself.
Heavy leads in their makeup and the belladonna in their eyeballs and the tapeworms that they were swallowing, and also all the opium in their medications.
And the corsets.
The corsets.
Really super wonder. I really, 50 to 60 years in the future, what are they going to look back at and be like, wow, these people were so...
Underwire.
Yeah, you know what? Underwire is definitely a thing. I'm glad I'm already done with that shit. I haven't worn an underwire bra in 10 years. I hate them. I really hate them. They stab so much.
I'm just used to them at this point.
I quit wearing them before I ever had top surgery, so...
Bro knows what's good.
Mm-hmm.
What's good is no fucking underwire.
Agreed.
Burn your wire, bro.
It's in there.
Burn it.
I would have to open my bra.
I used to pick the seam of the bra open and just pull the underwire out.
Oh.
Which is bad for the integrity of those types of bras.
Yeah.
You should just buy one that's already made without the underwire. But, we were poor and we just bought what we could afford. And all of those come with underwire.
Yeah. That's
so,
true.
Yes.
Bravo.
After the turn of the 1900s, people started doing less deadly but also stupider things. So into the Depression era, people needed things to do to keep themselves distracted from, the crippling actual depression they were going through. So something called pole sitting became just really super popular.
Planking.
Yeah.
Before there was planking.
Pole sitting.
Song called Pole Sitter.
Pole sitting is a lot like planking. It was started by somebody named Alvin Shipwreck Kelly. And what you do is you would climb up to the top of a flagpole and you would sit on top of it on a tiny little platform for as long as possible.
All right. If I ever have a child, their middle name is going to be Shipwreck. I know that's not what we're getting out of this, but I can't get over it. Was Shipwreck his actual middle name, or was it a nickname?
It was a nickname.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense, but also, what if?
Bro, I'm back here still, like, in my head. I'm listening to Flagpole Sitter by Harvey Danger.
Yeah. Well, that's where he got it from.
Sitting on a pole.
I fucking love it.
The longest pole sit that ever took place, I want you to guess because you'll be wrong.
148 hours.
62 minutes.
Okay, the longest pole sit that ever took place from 1982 to 1984.
No way.
Yeah, it took place long past pole sitting's golden age of the Depression, when H. David Werder spent 439 days on a post outside of Clearwater, Florida.
Oh my God, the Scientologists. Sorry.
Was bro okay? Like, what happened?
He put a teeny tiny little capsule on top of a flagpole and he just lived in it. Which shouldn't count in my opinion, but they did count it.
Oh. That doesn't count.
Should bro was there for 2 years.
All right.
I don't think that should count. He was in there for 2 years.
Now, for it to count, it means that he did not come down from that pole for the entire 439 days. So he literally did live on that platform in that teeny tiny little capsule for that entire 439 days. Now, I don't know how he got his food. I don't know where the food came from.
I mean, he must have had like a pulley system.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pulley system. He just like peed over the edge.
Yeah.
Like a bucket for his poop, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, pulleyed. He was like, okay, I'm sending down my poop, and then you give me food.
Different bucket.
Different bucket, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, bro.
God.
It counts. Like, he lived there. Can you fucking imagine? Because I can't. Like, that's boring.
That is world-class depression right there. Just like, there's nothing else I can do except live on top of this pole.
Yep.
Like,
God.
Bro, you alright?
It was the Great Depression. It's not like anybody had anything
that
else.
guy...
Like,
Let me reference the date that happened again, though. That happened in the 1980s.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so the pole sitting was popular in the Great Depression. This guy decided he was going to break a world record for something that had stopped being popular 50 years ago.
What?
So
this guy had no good reason to go sit on a pole. Let me go back and read you the date again. The longest pole sit ever took place between 1982 and 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, pole sitting was popular during the Depression era. This dude decided he was going to do it in the 1980s, like long past the time that it was popular.
Bro.
And everyone was just like, okay.
This would be like if somebody in 2050 decided they were going to start planking again.
For 2 years.
For 2 years, solid. Yeah.
Like, on top of the fucking McDonald's logo stand, you know, the big ones that they have near the highways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The billboards?
No, not the billboards. The big ass bright sign that they got.
Arches.
Oh, okay. The golden arches.
Yes.
Just lay up there for 2 years.
Got it.
Yeah.
2
Jeez.
years.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
Send me up nothing but Big Macs.
This guy had no, like, he was long past when he should have been doing this. Like, at that point, he had the internet.
God.
So, like, maybe that's why he did it.
Yeah, but The internet was still like
A baby.
Baby.
black and green back then.
Yeah.
Bro, like, pictures were ASCIIs.
It was the early stages of video games. That's what ended. Yeah. Like, okay, he stopped in 1984?
Yep.
Oh, that's because of the Big Brother told him to get down. That's a 1984 reference, kids.
Nice work, Karen. There's that English degree.
There's my English degree.
And then after the Great Depression in the 1950s, they did panty raids, and I know everybody, even the babies in the audience, have seen this in the stupid college comedy movies, because they still do it in comedy movies that take place on college campuses.
Well, yeah.
They made a panty raid joke in SpongeBob.
Yeah,
Yes.
they did. With Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob and Squidward doing a panty raid. Yeah. I know that episode. I have children.
Nice.
I don't
Patrick,
remember.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
I think it was all three of them, wasn't it? No, maybe it wasn't.
Oh. I figured Squidward
It
would
was not
never.
Squidward. I meant SpongeBob and Patrick and Mr. Krabs.
Okay. His other boyfriend.
His other boyfriend, yes. So there was a trend on college campuses where a large group of young men, often numbering in the thousands, would gather to invade women's dorms and sorority houses to steal panties and otherwise cause trouble.
Why the thousands?
Oh.
Is that the only
I
way
mean-
it would work? They can't catch all of us?
There's a lot to unpack with panty raids, actually. So they were partly protests against gender-based housing restrictions, partly people being stupid, partly expressions of toxic masculinity in general, as it sounds like they would be on the surface.
Mhm.
So I have some things I can say about it if you want me to, that I can just ramble through real quick if you want. Some statistics on panty raids.
Hit me with the stats, bro.
Okay, so the first documented incident occurred on February 25th in 1949 in Illinois, when 125 men went into the women's building through the heating tunnels beneath the building.
Oh my god.
Once they were in there, they locked the house mother in her apartment, cut the lights and the phone lines, and then let everybody else in. A few women reported missing undergarments, but the goal was not actually to steal panties, but was to just cause commotion.
Oh my god.
And then when the police got there, nobody was charged with anything.
Naturally.
Yes, and then the news just reported on it, and it made headlines. And then 3 years later was when the next one happened, at the University of Michigan, when students raided a dormitory, which created publicity that would spark panty raids across the nation. So Penn State's first raid involved 2,000 men marching on the women's dorms in 1952.
What?
And cheered on by the women who opened the doors and the windows and tossed their own panties out
Alrighty.
at the men.
At least that time it was on purpose.
Oh, okay.
And then a month later, also in 1952, an article in Georgia Tech's student newspaper reported that 20 colleges had experienced panty raids in that month.
Feel about that.
Oh my god.
So a number of colleges, panty raids functioned as like a funny sort of protest against curfews and entry restrictions that barred male visitors from women's dormitories. This was particularly the case at colleges that had recently started admitting women in large numbers for the first time after World War II, where the role of female students on campus had like not yet really been fully sorted. Some colleges, the large crowds gathered around panty raids were like co-opted by student politicians who would use them for like protest and activism. These like stirrings of student protest against restrictive campus rules like fed the emergence in the late 1950s of liberal activist parties and student government.
Mm.
So even if it wasn't meant for that on some campuses, it was used for that.
Huh.
And then on a bunch of campuses, the women actually just welcomed the raiders in. And in some cases, the women raided the men's colleges back,
Beautiful.
such as in Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
At the University of Washington, raiders broke windows, and female students at Columbia College and Stevens College got into like a physical altercation with the men, so it sometimes just got violent. And then by the 1970s, they started doing co-ed dorms in lots of colleges. Universities were a lot less inhibited about attitudes towards sex on campus, and so panty raids kind of like faded from actually happening, but they live on in college comedies that still take place today.
I want a movie about panty raids now. I want it to be a biopic of the panty raids.
One of the ones where it's like really serious for some reason, and like they color graded it to be really dark, and like they have one guy and there's inspirational music, and he's like, "This means something. You don't get it. This means something."
What we're doing here, it's a revolution.
A bunch of people are holding candles, just like flickering light. Yeah. You got the swelling music in the background, yes.
Like, they approach the building and there's a huge crowd of them. There's the flickering lights, it's dark, and like in the background you hear the matron going, let me out! And then like, but these guys, and they're all lined up, they're all staring at this dark building, and then the door swings open, and they're like,
yeah.
"At night we ride."
I'm so down for this movie.
For the revolution.
I love it. Panties rain from all the windows. Slow motion.
Yes, they fall, and like one guy gets hit with one, and he goes, he falls back.
And then suddenly it's like a war movie.
Yeah.
Like all the noise like starts going out, and you hear the tinnitus noise. There's like debris being kicked up, and like this guy is like, he's like blinking around, just trying to understand, and then you see a panty falling.
I'm picturing like he's surrounded by panties. It's like a panty graveyard.
Yes, it has to zoom out and like look down at the battlefield. There's all these guys on the ground and all these panties, and they're just like slow motion drifting down.
There's like random fires. And then to black, panty raid coming May 2023.
An inspirational film based on real life.
I love it. Of course, we've copyrighted it. TM. It belongs to us. If you want the idea, you have to pay us.
Oh my god. Okay. Who are we getting to? Rian Johnson.
Yeah. You do a good job.
He'll be the director. He's the only one I trust anymore. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. Sorry.
Okay. So that sort of catches us up with trends throughout history and how we've always had them. Now we just have them on a global platform with the internet. And with the internet, there's also been an emergence in what like I was calling with M when I was talking in our chat about internet urban legends, specifically trend urban legends. These are trends that have been brought up in like news reports or chain letters that have been aimed at adults about things that kids are supposedly doing that parents need to be watching out for and that generally have not actually happened at all.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some examples. So in 2003, Oprah Winfrey talked on her show about something called rainbow parties. Have you heard about these?
Is it the one with the lipstick and the dicks?
It is.
What?
2003. Oprah Winfrey went on her talk show when she had one. I don't think she does anymore, talking about rainbow parties, where supposedly adolescent girls would go to these parties and they'd all be given different shades of lipstick. And then they'd put on the different shades of lipstick and they'd all take turns giving boys blowjobs in sequence so that the boys would have rainbows on their penises.
Oh no, and she reported it like it was real?
She did. Sex researchers and adolescent healthcare professionals found no evidence that these parties ever happened or existed at all. As with any sex thing, I'm certain that somebody has done it somewhere, but nobody ever could prove that it ever happened. And Oprah reported it on a like she made a whole show about like the immorality of youth and how like sex is destroying our young people in 2013, and she had a whole segment about rainbow parties. So where did she get it from? You want to know, I'm certain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't make it up. Where she got it from, as you can imagine, is from an American Christian woman, pediatrician Meg Meeker's book, Epidemic: How Teen Sex is Killing Our Kids.
Oh my god.
I 100% argue with such a sentence, but please go on.
So in the book, this person wrote all kinds of nonsense about how sex is destroying teenagers and they all have to be abstinent, and that if you have sex when you're a teenager, you're gonna have like diseases and like all kinds of just ridiculous stuff. Not just diseases, but like absolute ludicrous nonsense. But like then she wrote like a paragraph where she was like, and then I talked to one of my clients at work, again relating it like it's a real thing, as you do with urban legends. Let me pull it up. I can read it to you verbatim.
Please.
Because it's only a paragraph long. So
I need to hear this. Like, convinced Oprah.
Okay, here's the story. Meeker wrote a story about supposedly a 14-year-old patient of hers named Allison. Allison had heard some kids were going to have a, quote, rainbow party, but had no idea what that meant. Still, she thought it might be fun and arranged to attend with a friend. After she arrived, several girls, all in the 8th grade, were given different shades of lipstick and told to perform oral sex on different boys to give them rainbows. Once she realized what was happening, Allison was too stunned and frightened to do anything. When a girl gave her some lipstick, she refused at first, but with repeated pressure, finally gave in. It was one of the grossest things I've ever done. Quote. So Oprah read this, and then Oprah like immediately took it on her show and talked about it, and then literally the news picked it up, and the news ran a story about it. And all of a sudden, everybody started talking about how they had heard about these things too, and that it was happening at their kids' schools.
No.
And then dozens and dozens and dozens of people started reporting that they had also heard about it, and their kids said that somebody had this happen at their school. And my friend said that this other person had went to one of these, and suddenly it went from nobody had ever heard of this to hundreds of people had participated in them or heard about them, which is just, your classic moral panic.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Oprah.
Moral panics are just so tiring.
She's so good about we're all allowed a mistake.
So Oprah also spawned a young adult novel about rainbow parties called Rainbow Party.
Oh.
And also a movie about rainbow parties.
I feel like it's one of those things that would become a thing after she just presented this idea out to the world.
Where is Rainbow Party streaming, and should I stream it alone?
Let's see. The film is from 2015. It is a 15-minute Icelandic film.
Oh, cultural.
I'm looking at
so exotic.
The Rainbow Party.
The film is occasionally seen in the U.S. on Shorts TV. That's where you can find it. It's 15 minutes long, so you might just be able to find it on YouTube.
Sweet.
Rainbow Party is a cautionary tale about a group of teens faced with the prospect of attending a party involving oral sex. The novel spotlights each of their diverse viewpoints in the hours leading up to the party, explores what each teen has and has not been up to sexually and why, and ultimately, why they would consider going to a party like this in the first place. This book addresses important and timeless issues relevant to teens, including self-esteem, peer pressure, awareness about STD protection, and making an informed and educated decision about readiness for sexual activity. It was inspired by numerous news reports about the prevalence and attitudes among teens towards certain types of sexual behavior, and is intended to engage readers in this real-life issue in a responsible and constructive fashion.
Is it... I'm so curious, like, if the book is just them all, like, leading up to the party, and then all of them, you know, are like, you know what, I'm really not comfortable with this. I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. And then everyone just agrees, and they're like, let's play Boggle.
I mean, like, I don't know. I could read it at some point and give y'all a review, but, like, it just sounds like one of those things, like...
Yeah, it sounds really preachy.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, there's a person who is named Rod.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That can't be beating you over the head with the euphemism.
I mean...
Like, here's the characters. Jen and Sandy. One's been with all the guys, and one's terrified of them. It's Jen's party. She invited everyone. Allison, president of the celibacy club. What's she thinking? And it specifically is thinking without the G. They dropped the G.
Mm-hmm. To be hip. Hello, fellow kids.
Hunter and Perry, friends.
Hunter and Perry?
The platypus.
Perry the platypus!
Jade, hanging on to it for the right guy. Sky and Rod, totally doing it. Totally curious. Vi, Sky's boyfriend who has it for Rod. This party could change everything. Rusty and Brick. One thinks he's a playa, as in play AH, playa. One's built like it, neither's getting any. Ash and Rose, the class couple, not ready yet. So why are they going? Would you? So
I'm so curious. Because sometimes I've got to be like, some of these people, this can't be real. This has got to be a joke. Like,
I mean, I could
it can't be real.
use some fucking reviews.
What else have they written?
What else has Paul Ruditis written? Well, let's see. Apparently Paul Ruditis wrote the Star Trek book, and also what appears to be some minor erotica.
Oh. Okay. Interesting.
I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe it is a joke.
Wow.
It seems to be a joke. Like, I'm if I look at the reviews.
Oh, he wrote something called something in Queer as Folk.
Bro is it looks like he's just kind of like there. He's just doing shit.
He has published tie-in novels and official guides to many hit TV shows.
There's a great quote from one review that's parents are getting upset because the book almost makes you think sex is okay and that oral sex is not sex at all. Sure, the kids who are involved in the party / more sexually advanced do contract a disease, which happens to be an easily curable one, and someone loses in the end, but that's about it.
Hold on, I'm reading is about teens who fantasize about having a rainbow party. The book has proven controversial as it was meant for teenagers, recommended by the publisher for ages 14 and up, thus raising questions about its propriety. In turn, concerns were raised that excluding the book from bookstores and libraries would amount to censorship. The publishers justified Rainbow Party on the grounds that it was a cautionary tale intended to teach readers that oral sex can be dangerous.
Big strike, bro!
Yeah,
I'm just stuck on Rod.
And one of them's name was Brick, also.
Rusty and Brick. One thinks he's a playa. I have to say
Rusty
it like that. Just I have to
playa.
Playa.
Oh my god. Well, anywho, there was that. So moving from that, just moving on. Also, now I've heard of all three of these that I'm going to talk to you about. The next one is called the Momo Challenge. Have you heard of this? I don't know. I have children, so
Wasn't that barred from like YouTube and things like that? Like, because it got so bad. Like, I never found out what it was because by the time I found out it was a thing, it was already getting banned, and they had to blur out momos.
yeah, that was part of it. Karen, have you heard of it?
No, but I know that Momo means peach, and I think of Momo from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I do think of Momo also from Avatar.
That's much more pure than my association.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you a picture, and it's very far from that. But
Oh no, I'm not prepared.
so, well, prepare yourself. So,
Okay.
it was reported that children and adolescents were being enticed by a user named Momo to perform a series of dangerous tasks, including violent attacks, self-harm, and suicide. The challenge was reported to become a worldwide phenomenon in 2018 after an Indonesian newspaper reported that it had caused a 12-year-old girl to kill herself. So awareness sort of grew for it in February of 2019 after the Police Service of Northern Ireland posted a public warning on Facebook, and American media personality Kim Kardashian posted on her Instagram story pleading for YouTube to remove Momo videos. So this is how recent this one was. And, you know, obviously my kids are like, in 2019, my oldest one was 6. So I'm sort of, I guess, in the areas where I would hear about this because I'm a parent and these things are targeted at parents, you know? So this is probably why I heard about it earlier. And also my sister is 10 years younger than me. So in 2019, she was young enough that she was like just out of high school. So
The
Mm.
perfect age.
So right at the where it's like it's not targeted to her, but it could be about her.
So information on the supposed challenges was outlined and discussed in videos uploaded to YouTube originally. So like this wasn't like in the news. Originally some YouTuber was the first person to like break the story, quote quote. Targeting teenagers, people presenting themselves as a character named Momo on WhatsApp messages try to persuade people to contact them through their cell phone. As with other internet hoaxes presented as challenges, such as the blue whale, which I will talk about later, and I've already brought it up to M and Karen. I'm sure you have read through the messages at some point, which M said that they had never heard of it before. Players are instructed to perform a succession of tasks, and refusal to do so is met with threats. Messages are subsequently accompanied by frightening, gory pictures. So that's what the Momo thing is. And then also you could get phone calls from Momo, supposedly. But at the time when this was happening, all of the phone numbers that were supposedly associated with Momo, according to WhatsApp, were disconnected phone numbers. So nobody was actually getting phone calls.
Or were they?
I want you guys to know that I was getting pictures ready to show Karen after you showed Karen what Momo looks like, and it didn't take as long as I thought it would to accidentally find porn with safe search on Google.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's because Momo has human boobs.
Yes, but they're focusing here on the tongue.
Oh. Okay.
What?
Also, in the background of this picture, Slenderman has boobs over his suit.
Okay. I'm about to post the picture in just a second. So the panic eventually died down throughout the rest of 2018, and then it returned in a much more pervasive form in 2019 when it was claimed that Momo was being inserted into like seemingly unrelated YouTube and YouTube Kids videos about like Peppa Pig and Fortnite. Like you would be watching a Peppa Pig video, and then like right in the middle of it, you would get like this picture right here, Karen.
Nope. Okay. Goodbye. Please delete that.
This is why
Okay.
hold on.
I will
I
delete
got pictures prepared. So basically, y'all, Momo is like this weird image of like the uncanny valley. She's got like this insane like popped out eye thing with the dark around it, and like she's got this really huge smile that's like going from ear to ear, and her hair is like raggedy and shit, and she's got like no nose bridge.
Bird-like face.
Yeah, she's and like the rest of her body is literally like she's holding herself up with her hands, which are bird legs, and she's got boobies. She's like if Baba Yaga were a head.
She's got regular human boobs.
Mm.
That is a sculpture that was made by Link Factory, which is a Japanese special effects company.
Well, they can go away. I did not care for that.
All right, I'm about to drop the porn in here because I think it's really funny. Because Slenderman has boobs over
God.
his fucking shirt.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That is.
Why would
I don't
you?
know. I did like some people just like I think they like the challenge. They're like, I'll make porn of it, and you're like, okay, bro.
All right.
Wow. Yeah, so supposedly on YouTube and YouTube Kids, you'd be watching a video of Peppa Pig, and then that image would just come up right in the middle of the video so that you could, like, trap kids into seeing that picture. Which would be terrifying if it ever actually happened. So these claims were repeated by the group National Online Safety. And again, it didn't happen. Although authorities have not confirmed any physical harm resulting from this, or even that a sustained exchange of messages ever took place between the Momo character and anybody, police forces and school administrations on several continents issued warnings about the Momo challenge. So in response to the reports in 2019, YouTube issued a statement saying that it had never received any links to videos that showed or promoted the Momo challenge. Ever. And then it said that it did permit news stories about it, though. So it had never received any videos that had anything promoting the challenge in it. So the challenge never took place on YouTube anyway, at all, period. But it did let stories through that were news stories about it, which is how these things spread, you know?
Yeah, because you can't censor this kind of stuff, right? Because that's one of the things about news.
YouTube was like, we've literally never had any videos with this character in it, but we're gonna let you put news stories about the character on our platform to raise awareness, even though it's never actually happened before. Which just propagates the misinformation that it has happened, even though YouTube itself is saying that it's never happened because it's never had videos with that in there.
It's really funny.
Wow.
And then before Momo, there was the Blue Whale Challenge, which neither one of you have heard of, which is crazy to me because I thought everybody had heard of it, but it's just me because I worked with kids for a long time, and then my children existed when this was a thing. So my kids would have been 3 and 1 when the blue whale thing happened. So again, I guess I had heard of it because the story circulated in areas where I guess I would have been targeted. I don't know. So in 2015, a Russian teenager posted a selfie with the caption, "Nya, bye." And so that Nya is like Russian for meow, basically.
Oh, it's also Japanese for meow.
It is, yeah. In Russian, it's like an H and a backwards R, so it's the Russian, like, direct translation of the Japanese automatopoeia meow.
Cute.
So she basically posted meow bye before committing suicide.
Oh, no.
So her death was discussed in internet forums and groups, including on Facebook, becoming, like, mixed with scare stories and folklore, and then further suicide stories were added to the group stories. And then soon after that, a Russian journalist named Galina Musaryeva first wrote about these like death groups in an article published in a Russian newspaper in April in 2016. She claimed that the groups had incited 137 teens to commit suicide.
What?
Her article was criticized at the time of its release for lacking any credible data at all, with the 130 cases of suicide cited as being problematic. She got that number from a father of one of the teenagers.
Oh, no.
In the group. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That guy got 130 by using Russian media sources to look for child suicides that he thought were linked to the group.
No. He's connecting dots that aren't even... He's like connecting dots, but it's not making a picture. Yep. It's just dots at this point. Dots and lines.
Then he produced a brochure which implied that foreign intelligence operatives were responsible for encouraging Russian children to commit suicide.
Bro.
What?
And then the journalist said that actually she was pretty sure that 130 was wrong and that it was probably 200.
What? No. Oh my God.
So from there, and okay, so at this point, one suicide has happened, a real one. And it got talked about a lot in these groups online. And then a lot of folk tales and folklore and urban legends and whatever got all mixed in with it. And then this guy came in and did a lot of stupid, talking. Then the journalist published a news story, and that's where we're at. So the origin of the name Blue Whale is really uncertain. Some reports say that it comes from a song by the Russian rock band Lumen, because the opening lines are, "Why scream when no one hears what we're talking about?" And it features a huge blue whale that can't break through the net. Others think it has something to do with how whales will sometimes intentionally beach themselves and die.
Okay.
The game is said to run on different social media platforms and is described as a relationship between an administrator and participants. So when I was doing research for this, I was like, man, this makes me think of Squid Game.
God.
And also, I had watched another horror movie where somebody was getting tasks that they were supposed to do on their phone day to day, that with increasing danger and self-harm aspects, because that's what Blue Whale is. Over a period of 50 days, the administrator sets one task per day. And at first, the tasks seem like nothing. Today, get up at 4:30. Today, watch a horror movie, and so on. And day to day, the tasks get worse and worse until eventually they lead up to self-harm. And eventually on the final day, you're supposed to commit suicide.
Man, that sounds almost like the NXIVM cult, except, more extreme.
I was just going to say that. It's like, oh my God, it's NXIVM.
So I was thinking that I've seen several horror movies that had this literal plot. And I was like, that's interesting. But that's a topic for a different thing, because I can ramble a lot about urban legends and horror movies and how they translate into each other. So a professor at the Russian State University for the Humanities named Alexandra Arkhipova found that the administrators were found to be children aged between 12 and 14, because at this point there had been so much media talk about this that the media had actually influenced the game to be a thing.
Oh my God.
I love that. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, bro. I mean, I hate it, but I love it.
I hate it, but did people actually kill themselves because of what happened?
So what had happened was the media influenced the game. The people who were in charge of doing these tasks, they found, were these 12 and 14-year-olds, not predatory adults like they thought. And then they made some arrests.
They arrested children. Okay.
Because there were some adults that did some things wrong. It didn't largely have anything to do with any adults, but in 2016, a guy named Philip, and I can't say his last name, Philip, a 21-year-old former psychology student who was expelled from his university, claimed that he invented the game. According to him, its purpose was to, quote, clean society of biological waste, as he intended to clean society from individuals who were deemed as having no value and considered as burdens. Originally, he claimed his innocence, and he stated that he was just having fun, quote. So he was arrested and held in a prison in St. Petersburg, and in May of 2016, he pled guilty to, quote, inciting at least 16 teenage girls to commit suicide.
Bitch!
Oh my God.
So he pled guilty to that, but he was only actually convicted of having caused 2 people to commit suicide.
Bro!
What?
What the fuck?
Why only 2?
I guess they can only prove that maybe 2 people had done it,
Oh. Or
or that if 16 people had done it, that he was only responsible for 2 of them.
Bro. Bro, that's fucked.
that's crazy.
In 2017, a postman named Ilya was arrested in Moscow and accused of setting up a blue whale group to encourage children to self-harm and ultimately commit suicide. He claimed to have persuaded 32 children to join his group and follow his commands. This was on Facebook, including to cut the shape of a whale into their bodies with a sharp object, which is what I knew about the game mostly. In June, so he got arrested for that, and as far as I'm aware, from what I could find, he didn't actually get convicted of doing anything. So I think that they could prove that he had a group on Facebook that had people in it, but didn't get convicted of actually causing any harm to anybody.
Okay. But is there any way that there was harm?
I'm fairly certain that there was harm caused to actually probably quite a few children, but probably plenty of it wasn't necessarily his fault.
Mm.
Russia is pretty notorious for punishing people very harshly, and I think if they could have proven it was his fault, they would have done something about it.
Wow.
In June of 2018, Russian financial analyst Nikita Niranov was arrested for allegedly masterminding the Blue Whale game. He was suspected of grooming 10 underage girls in order to bring them to suicide, 2 of whom, 17 and a 14-year-old, are known to have survived.
Oh, good.
He was a financial analyst, and he was described as a very smart computer expert who held a large amount of contempt for teenagers and believed that they were, quote, wicked and deserved to die. Police reports claim that Niranov's involvement in the Blue Whale game was his hobby.
Ugh, that's disgusting.
People are really nasty.
So, just so that we can recap, this didn't start as being a thing that actually existed. This started as being something that like a journalist invented.
Yeah.
And because it became like a media moral panic, it became a thing that existed, which, just looping way back around to the very beginning of this, is why these kinds of weird internet challenges can be really dangerous. You should just stick to planking, which isn't dangerous. It's just stupid.
Just don't plank anywhere crazy, okay?
Yeah, don't plank anywhere crazy. Just plank in normal places with weird music.
Yeah.
Do it with really, just in the middle of the darkness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's very meditative.
It's probably great for your core.
Probably. Well, that's why they, plank. It's part of your exercise routine.
Just to sum it all up, a guy named Benjamin Radford, he is a super prolific author and investigator. He's written 20 books, and according to the quote about who he is and what he does, thousands of articles about unexplained mysteries, urban legends, the paranormal, critical thinking, mass hysteria, and media literacy. He says about these things, the Blue Whale game and the Momo challenge have all the hallmarks of a classic moral panic fueled by parents' fears and wanting to know what their kids are up to. There's an inherent fear in what young people are doing with technology. So that's why these things happen, where parents just sort of invent things that their kids are doing. Also, it's kind of gross, things like with the rainbow party, that parents just sort of invent weird sex things that their kids are doing and then foist it onto them. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird and gross.
Internet challenges need to sort of just stick to the realm of the stupid and not dangerous. Mannequin challenge. Drink your gallon of milk and throw up on your own self.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Do your weird Kylie Jenner lips.
Just
Yeah.
do normal weird shit and not killer weird shit. That's just bro, too far.
I think the only way that we're ever gonna get through this is to do the Harlem Shake.
You heard it here, folks. The medicine for human society is the Harlem Shake.
You really answered my question thoroughly.
Thanks everybody for listening. We are very excited to take your questions too, because we want to hear them and we want to answer them, and we are so super qualified to answer questions. So what you can do is you could visit our website, which is whywouldyouskthat.com, and go to that little contact form, throw in a question, or you can email us at whywouldyouskthatpod@gmail.com. So please send us your questions. We don't care how weird it is, how gross it is. Just don't ask any personal questions. That's our one line. Ask your weird questions. That's what we want. So thank you for listening. This is M, Karen, and Remy, and ask us some shit. Thank you. Good night.